Hi there. Hi, welcome. Hi, I'm Matlock here at Free Body. And tonight I wanted to talk with you about the big three. What's the big three? What does that even mean? And why am I talking about it? So, before I go any further, if you're watching me on YouTube, please go ahead and like if you want to have some access to more videos that help you to live well in your body. And you can subscribe, hit that bell button, receive some notifications. I'm going live every Tuesday, and we're regularly releasing new videos to just help you feel good in your body. So let's talk about this idea of what is the big three. So the big three are three big, powerful muscles that have a huge effect on your shoulders and the health of your neck. So we're continuing on this upper body series. I'm in the middle of this upper body series through Free Body. And this comes up all the time. This is one of the most important bits of information I feel like that I can give you, because this understanding what the big three are and how they affect your upper body will change your life, truly. Okay, so let's get down into it. What are the big three? We've got Pec Major, we've got latissimus dorsi, and we've got teres major. So your Pec Major is a muscle all on the front of your chest, and it attaches the front of the arm bone right here. Now, latissimus is a back muscle. It comes out of the thoracolumbar fascia, is a very fancy name for a big sheet of connective tissue that lives in your low back. And latissimus dorsi comes up. It's one of the biggest muscles in your body. And it comes up and attaches also right here at the front of your arm bone. And then we have teres major, which is kind of a best friend of latissimus dorsi. That teres major muscle is what I call the fat sausage of the back of the armpit, because it is like a thick, fat rope that goes from the bottom corner of your shoulder blade, passes through the armpit, and attaches, you guessed it, at the front of the arm bone right here. So this latissimus, Pec Major, and teres major, all attaching right here in what's called the bicipital groove and the humerus in the arm bone. And what all three of them do is they bring your arm down by your side and they rotate your shoulder inward. And they're big, powerful muscles. So all three of those muscles attaching at the front of your arm, drawing your arms down and in. So let's look at that for a moment. If we have a tendency to slouch or round forward, all three of those muscles are going to become a little bit short. And the thing is, these muscles, like our bodies, are designed to climb trees. We're designed to be magnificent creatures climbing rocks, climbing hills, climbing trees. And we have very powerful muscles that rotate our shoulders inward. This is why it's so easy to slouch. This is why it's so easy to kind of get into bad posture, because these big muscles all attach in there. And so anytime we round forward, anytime we sulk, anytime that we lean into life or hang out like eating food, we're rounding forward. And what ends up happening over time is that those muscles that draw the shoulders in, the big three, pecs, lats, teres, pull the shoulder, the arm in internal rotation and the shoulder forward, the arm forward in the shoulder joint, which wreaks havoc on the rotator cuff, which continues to pull everything else down and then wreaks havoc on the neck, which can lead to neck pain headaches, shoulder dysfunction, loss of range of motion in your shoulders, and all kinds of crazy pain in your shoulder joint. So let's talk about that for a minute. The pecs, the lats, and the teres, all three of those muscles drawing that shoulder in and down, what happens is that they will create a constant pull, even when you're asleep, even when you're at rest. When you develop tension or trigger points, in my world, when you develop trigger points in those tissues, they're going to chronically be pulling you rounded forward, shoulders forward. Now, here's the thing about, let's take how this affects the rotator cuff, for example. The rotator cuff is a group of 4 muscles, and those 4 muscles are supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. And those 4 muscles together contract to stabilize your humerus in the socket. And the humerus, our ball and socket joints, shoulders and hips, really like to be in the center of the socket. So when these muscles, the big 3, pecs, lats, teres, end up drawing us forward, we're actually pulling the shoulder forward in the socket and taking it out of that central location, which activates then the rotator cuff, because all those 4 muscles that collectively are known as the rotator cuff are part of their job is to put the humerus back in the center of the socket. So let me say that again. Ball and socket joints like to be in the center of the socket. Pecs, lats, teres, the big 3, round the shoulders, pull the shoulders forward, out and away from the center of the socket, and then that activates the rotator cuff, because the rotator cuff's immediate response or reflex is to try to pull the humerus back into the center of the socket. So that's kind of like that tensional imbalance, that tensional system. And what's going to happen over time is, with the shoulder drawing forward in the socket, it's going to distort the joint. It's going to dry out the joint. You'll lose range of motion. I mean, just try it. Try rounding forward and then try moving your arm through its range of motion. It doesn't really work, right? But if you stand up taller, open the chest, externally rotate that shoulder, now you've got that full range of motion, right? So sometimes the loss of range of motion that we're experiencing in our bodies is really just a position. It's a result of the position that we're putting our bodies in all the time. And then we end up just kind of distorting that tensional balance. And over time, the joint will dry. Over time, our bodies think, oh, this is the position I'm supposed to be in. So it even feels awkward or weird to be in good posture, because our bodies have kind of read like, oh, okay, this is how I'm supposed to be. So that internal rotation becomes the reset for our bodies, which is a healthy place to be, which isn't what we want. We really want that humerus back and settled right into the center of the socket. And we really don't want to push it down, right? We don't want the shoulders dropping way down, and that actually creates tension in the neck and the shoulders. We just want the humerus to be in the center. But when the pecs, lats, and teres are holding tension and drawing in, then it really is going to cause all kinds of problems. So what kinds of problems does tension in the big 3 cause? It causes shoulder bursitis. It causes rotator cuff injury. It causes fraying in the biceps tendon. It causes loss of range of motion in the neck and shoulders. It can lead to neck pain. It can lead to headaches and chronic chronic tension headaches. So, and chronic pain. So the big three rotate in, and then we just have two little tiny muscles on the back on the shoulder blade itself. We have infraspinatus, and we have little teres minor, which is really just kind of a feather of the fan of that muscle called infraspinatus on the shoulder blade. And those muscles are the main external rotators of the shoulders. So think about that. Just a little muscle on the shoulder blade, infraspinatus, and an even smaller, tinier strip, feather of that wing is teres minor. And those are the only two muscles that really have any external rotation. We could, clinically say that supraspinatus creates a little external rotation. No, it's really infraspinatus and teres minor. And the fact is that those muscles are small against big, huge lats, which come all the way up from the low back and cover a huge portion of the back. Teres major, big fat sausage in the back flap of the armpit. That's teres major right there. Pec major, big chest muscle. And then all of those are drawing in, and that little tiny teres minor and infraspinatus have to work against those big muscles. And they don't have a chance. They really don't have a chance. Now, here's the thing. This is such a key. Infraspinatus is what causes aching at the front of your shoulder, is what causes its trigger points refer deep in the shoulder joint where you're just like, I don't know where it's coming from. It just hurts inside there. It means that it's going to make it hard for you to reach behind you to hook your bra. It's going to be difficult to lift your arm up to brush your hair or put your hair up in a ponytail. And it begins in pecs, lats, and teres. So let me give you one example before we close for the evening. So I had a client show up at the clinic, and she had very little range of motion. She had some shoulder bursitis, very little range of motion in her arms, and it hurt, and her shoulder hurt. She kept grabbing her shoulder and going, it's just so painful, so painful. And I said, yeah, I get it. What do you do for a living? And she works in shipping. So she's picking up boxes, holding them in her arms, and that holding activates the pecs. She's holding, carrying, and moving boxes here, moving boxes here. A lot of tension is going to be in her pecs. Now, she couldn't lift her arms. Both of them were limited, but the left one especially couldn't get higher than here. She was really headed for shoulder bursitis on that side, which is another topic we'll talk about another time. So she couldn't really lift her arm very far at all on the left side, and the pain was so terrible in her joint. I said, okay, I think I have an idea about what's going on. So she got on the table. I released her pecs. And how are you doing? Oh, it's so much better. She went from like here and starting to grimace and having pain to here in literally 5-10 minutes. Here we are. And then I released her lats and her teres major, and she went to full range of motion. So releasing pecs, lats, and teres, they're the muscles that pull the arm down. So the fact that she was having an inability to lift the arm up isn't a reflection of the strength of that muscle to lift the arm up, deltoid supraspinatus. It's really a reflection of how tight and stuck are those muscles that pull the arm down. So we release those muscles that pull the arm down. I didn't even have, all her pain was gone. I didn't even have to, her pain wasn't even coming from those muscles, but the big three was causing limitation in her other muscles, and those muscles were crying out in pain. So if you're having shoulder issues, one of the first things that you want to do, well, the first thing you always want to do is breathe in your belly. You always want to start with some nice belly breaths to just tone down the whole nervous system. And then the next thing you want to do is scoop your shoulders in external rotation. And I called this the how wonderful pose. My dear friend Deirdre Smith Gilmer taught me to call it that, the how wonderful pose, because you're like, oh, how wonderful. And squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, do things that open the chest. And you could get a ball in there, release the pecs, release the lats and the teres. So you're releasing the front flap of the armpit and the back flap of the armpit, so that you can release the muscles that pull that shoulder down, so that you can have a better a range of motion in the shoulder and more freedom. So the big three: pec major, lats, latissimus, teres major. Freeing up those muscles will completely change your experience in your shoulders and your neck, because when those muscles are done, also look at what happens with my neck when those shoulders are stuck short, right? And they're pulling forward, the neck has to pull forward. It doesn't have a choice. It's kind of just along for the ride. So opening the pecs, the lats, and the teres, freeing those muscles, do some self-trigger point release through those areas. It's going to completely transform and change your experience in your shoulders and your neck. So I hope that information is helpful. I'm Kat Matlock here at Free Body in Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for watching me this evening. I'm going live every Tuesday night. You can check out, it's never too late to join a series that I'm in, because you get the video recordings of that, of the previous classes. So you can join us at freebodynow.com. Check out the self-care stuff, and we have a bunch of pre-recorded things that you could do, and really take care of your own body, because you can. There's so much you can do to take care of your body, and it's my goal to teach you how to feel well and take care of yourself. So thanks for joining. I'll see you again soon.